Right, good afternoon, everyone. As you're kind of getting in here, and we're waiting for folks to join us, I'm just going to ask that you scan the QR code here. We'll give you some more information about what that is. Check it out, see if you can make your own account. It is a digital business card. I'm Christelle. I'll be talking most of today, and we'll add some instructions in the chat as well. One of the moderators is actually going to drop an interactive workbook that we'll be using throughout the webinar as well. So go ahead and download that. And if you have any trouble, just let us know in the chat. Hello again. I know we got a couple more people, so I'm just going to repeat what I said, which is that we're downloading what's in the chat, which is going to be a workbook we're going to be utilizing throughout the webinar. We'll get started in a few minutes as folks come in. And just take a minute also to scan the QR code that's on the bottom left of the screen. And we will explain a little bit more about what we're going to do with our digital business cards. So I'll give it one more minute and then I'll get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started since it doesn't seem like too many other people are getting in right now. But we'll keep repeating things as time goes on. And please let us know if you have any trouble hearing or tech issues. You should be working on building your digital business card right now and opening up the workbook that we're going to be utilizing throughout this. And this workbook is going to help you build your study plan and have a space to keep all the resources that we're going to share today um, within your own files and to access later on. Okay, my name is Christelle Daceus, and I have two moderators today, Catherine Springer and Melissa Rizzuto. You'll see with Catherine and I's names in our video view, you'll see a presentation view or activity view, which means two screens are being shared right now. If you go into your options for Zoom, you have view options and you can switch back and forth between our views throughout the presentation. And we'll kind of let you know when you need to do that. We're starting in the presentation, of course, to kind of start things off. And as we kind of do examples and share activities, you can switch over to that other view as well. So I'm a course support specialist for the Center for Learning Design and Technology at Whiting. And we have this presentation here, Study Strategies for Effective Learning, that is here to help build a personalized learning plan for students, right? We want to share with you guys science-based and research-based strategies and methods for learning and retention that will hopefully enhance your experience as a student and with your courses. Again, you'll have that packet that we dropped in the chat. You just want to download that, ask for any help in the chat. And we do have a bit of a limited time during the workshop. So we're going to ask that you hold your questions until the end or just drop it in the chat and we'll get to it if there is a bit of time in the middle. But I'm going to go ahead and just try to answer questions at the end so that we can get through all the activities. And last but not least, we hope that as you are students, that you have lots of activities or methods that already work for you. But again, we did a bit of research for the past couple of years on what works best for students and retention and learning, and we want to pass on that information. So we're hoping you learned something new today. So again, I'm going to share that QR code. There's a short link at the bottom of this screen if it's easier for you to type into your laptop or phone. So this is going to open up in your browser. You're going to see my digital business card, and these are the different views here. And so if you already have the app, that's this little image on the left here. It will open up, and Hi Hello is an app for digital business cards, and you can have a free account. And when you're out and about wanting to share your contact information, you share your QR code, or you also have the options to just save the contact and email it to you or text it to your phone for easy access, or for folks who might not be familiar with QR codes. You also have the option to download it to your phone, like I said, and you'll have that view. And it'll look like this in one of the app stores. Android is on the left and iPhone is on the right. And again, you have that short link there to my digital business card if you I'd love to connect with you guys. And I'll repeat again, please take some time to drop information about your program, introduce yourself in the chat, drop your LinkedIn profile link, whatever you might find useful for sharing more information about yourself professionally, because we're going to hope that you make some connections today. One more time for the QR code if you didn't get a chance to do that, and we'll get started. So today we're hoping that you learn new definitions and new information about different learning strategies and study strategies to utilize within your courses. We want to actually take some time to identify your learning needs within the workbook, within our activities, to see which of these strategies would be most useful to you. And then we'll also be working on organizing a study plan and schedule. So we'll start with an introduction. We'll talk about why all this is important. I just wanted to share this email, facultyforward@jhu.edu, which Faculty Forward is our faculty development academy, um, who provides sessions for faculty in developing them. And we, within our group, have developed this study strategies tool as a resource for students as well. And so if you do need more information about anything you learned today, or if you want a physical copy of the workbook that you're utilizing digitally today, then you can reach out this way as well, and you'll get that information, and we can get that to you also. We'll also be talking about these main learning strategies: avoiding illusions of knowing, questioning your thinking; retrieval practice, just remembering things that you've previously learned; space practice, where you're creating space in between your learning for effectiveness; interleaving is where you're mixing up how you practice concepts that you're learning; and embracing difficulties, because we know that all of this is difficult as students to find what works best for us, but we're going to hopefully pass on some skills and strategies that will help you navigate that. We'll share some resources within on campus, or other useful tools that we've researched. And then I'll give you just some final background on the study strategies for effective learning project, which has been kind of a 2-year long project so far, that hopefully will end with something really cool for students in the future outside of this workshop. All right. So I'm just going to start with this video, and we're going to start with our first activity real soon. Oop. As long as my video, please. Yesterday. Okay. All right, well, the video is not playing, so we'll skip past that and we'll go into our first activity here. You want to go ahead and scan this QR code, and this video is just gonna share a little bit of background about why these things are important, right? That we want to make sure that we're getting effective skills to be, you know, effective in our courses and intentional with our learning. And I'm sorry that you guys can't see the directions here, but I'm just asking you to scan the QR code. And once you get into Padlet, which is the platform that we're using, you'll see a couple answers from previous workshops and groups of students who have shared their thoughts on why effective study skills are important. I think we're going to have uh, just about a minute or two to do this. So I'll give you guys some time to do that, to read over the answers there, and also add your own thoughts. And once you're done with that, if you want to click over to the activity view, Katie will give an example of how to input your answers and also create a connection between other thoughts, because we want to see if there's any common threads to our thinking. And so if you go to activity view, Katie is going to go ahead and open Padlet. She's going to press that plus sign at the bottom to add her own commentary, and you can edit it with pictures or whatever might be useful for you. But you just want to drop that in, and then you're going to use the three dots within your thought card to create a connection. You'll click connect to post, and then you'll click another post that might relate to the ideas that you offered. So I'll give everyone about 30 more seconds to add to that, and then we'll move on. Katie or Mel, just give me a heads up when things kind of slow down in Padlet so we can move on to the next section.
Will do. I'm seeing a few people typing. Let me know in the chat if you would like me to show that demo as well, or once again, to add your comment or connect it to another comment that's already on the board. I know I'm seeing one new comment here. Just want to call this out. Deeper learning of material makes application outside of school easier. Great insight, really connecting the education that you're learning in your courses to maybe your professional work as well, if you are in school and a working professional.
Okay, so you can still add some thoughts to the Padlet as we move on, and we'll just get started because we want to make sure that we get through everything today and you guys have what you need. So our next step here is going to be to start building your study schedule, right? So we're going to give you a little bit more time again here, probably 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to choose your favorite calendar platform, right? So if you have Google Calendar on your laptop or phone, or we all have Outlook accounts through J2. That's a great place to start. And so Katie is actually going to leave Padlet and give an example of this too. But what you're going to do is start building your study schedule, right? Somewhere that's easily accessible. There's also on page 11 kind of a breakdown of what a physical, written down schedule might look like. So you can, of course, utilize that if that's better for your method of learning. I do like to keep a planner myself, so I totally understand that. But we wanted to show you guys how to utilize tools that you already have. Um, so this is a really good time to download the Canvas Student app because we're going to be using the calendar feature in there. But for now, Katie is going to give us a quick example of what that looks like in Outlook. And so what we're going to be doing in there is creating a custom or blank calendar where you'll be able to input your course schedule and other personal information. And what I'm going to ask for this first schedule activity is for you to just go in and put what do I want to say, just a week of your courses, right? Just put in your regular weekly course schedule. And I'm going to also ask you to color code that schedule. All right, pick a different color for each class, and that'll hopefully come in later as well.
So if you are doing this in Outlook, which is what I'm showing now, you would go into your calendar, click on Add Calendar, and then you can start with just creating a blank calendar to do this.
So I'll give 2 more minutes for folks to ask questions about this, get things downloaded. Again, remember you're going into your favorite calendar platform to build a week of your course schedule. And just put that in so you can have regular reminders, you can set your notifications, whatever might be useful. You probably won't get everything done in this first 2 minutes here, but we'll have a couple other moments in the workshop where you'll get to work on your study schedule. So take a second to do that. I'll give 1 more minute of me not talking so you guys can get some of that done, and then we'll move on to our first learning strategy. Okay, I hope you had a good amount of time to start that off. So as you get things downloaded, it's okay if that's the only step you got done so far. We'll definitely have more time to do this. And of course, we want you to revisit all of what you've done today to keep your consistency. So now I'm just going to ask if you are in activity view to come back to the presentation view. We're going to move on to learning about the specific strategies. And we're going to start with avoiding illusions of knowing.
Christelle, do you have the video playing now?
Yes, is it not playing?
We aren't hearing
No sound.
sound.
Oh,
So you may, I'm not sure if it was when you started sharing, if you didn't share sound as well. But we just need to get that set and restart the video.
okay. Let me start that for you guys. Sorry. Um, Austin, I don't know if you can help out, but my
If you
share sound is grayed out.
is there an advanced tab when you reshare?
I'm sorry.
Do you see an advanced tab when you try to reshare?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah, I see the advanced. Okay.
There should be a
All right, I see that. Let me click that. Um, well, I'm able to choose computer sound in the advanced, but it says I cannot share computer sound when two screens are sharing. So Katie, maybe let's stop your share for a second. And hopefully that'll help. Sorry about that, guys. We're gonna get right back into this as soon as we can.
Yeah, just bear with us. So I've stopped my share. Hopefully that fixes it.
I think you guys can hear, but not necessarily. No, I think I might go ahead and just skip the videos so that we can. Um, yeah, it doesn't look like we're able to have audio right now. Sorry if I'm missing something, but I'm just gonna go ahead and skip the videos since we do have everything in the presentation. Okay,
And switch the slide and display settings.
I'm sorry.
We're seeing your PowerPoint like presenter notes view and
Oh,
not just the presentation.
great. And how's that?
Perfect.
Okay. Anyone else? You guys still able to only see that?
All right, we're seeing looks like video with calendar, follow a study schedule.
Yeah, but you're not seeing presenter view, correct?
Correct.
Great. All right. So what this video is gonna just let you know is that with avoiding illusions of knowing, the purpose is to question your thinking. Think about how you think about things. Think about what influences your thinking. Maybe that's your community, maybe that's your biases, maybe et cetera, et cetera. But the purpose here is to start off with questioning your beliefs, right? And this is something you want to do within your courses as well. If you feel really confident, about your course material or your knowledge, just take a moment to think, to question that confidence, see if there's something else that, or could know or learn about your course material. So within avoiding illusions, some strategies where you can practice this is metacognition. So metacognition is that same concept I was discussing before, which is thinking about your thinking, taking time to reflect throughout the semester or term or after your term before you start a new course or a new part of your program. It's a good moment to check in with yourself. Um, Another great strategy for avoiding illusions is receiving feedback from your peers. We'll talk about, partnering with a great study partner or accountability partner, but the receiving of feedback from your partner and being open to that feedback is useful for challenging your thinking. And of course, partner up with someone who doesn't think the same way that you do. Maybe they're from a different program. Maybe they have a different background than you do. Something that would be challenging to your usual way of thinking is definitely useful in that way. All right. So a concept within this strategy we want to talk about is mass misremembrance, right? The Mandela effect. So this is asking you, can multiple people think they know something that they don't know? Okay. And so here we go. If you look at these common logos, I want you to think, you know exactly which one is the correct variation. And I have this picture of Sinbad the comedian here because there's a strong belief that he was in a genie movie in the late 90s or something, or early 2000s. And it's come to fact that that movie does not exist, although multiple people believe that it does. Even I do, and I still stay strong to that. I feel like I've seen this movie in my life, but apparently, according to Sinbad, he has never filmed this film. And so now, again, back to these logos, we're actually going to put that to the test. And we're going to actually test your knowledge and your remembrance right now. Okay, so we're going to go into poll everywhere, and we're going to do a bit of a competition where you'll get a chance to choose which one you think is correct. So I want you again, you're going to go ahead and scan this QR code, go or utilize the link that's on your screen. And once I start off this game, you'll be able to participate. Right. So that's all set here. And then again, you want to stay in presentation view for this activity since everything's here in the PowerPoint. I'll just give everyone a second to get in, and then we're gonna get started with the game. So you just pick a username. There is a prize for anyone who ends at the top of our leaderboard. So just try your very best, and then we'll explain what the answers are at the end. Right, we got 20 seconds here, or 15 seconds here for this first question. Go ahead if everybody's in. Katie, let me know if I should go back or slow down a little bit.
I think
I
you're
am
doing
seeing
fine.
results come in.
We have 13 results already.
All right, you guys gotta be quick. All
Some
right.
people were very quick.
Yes. All right, so if you chose A, you are correct here. We'll see who's at the top so far. All right, so Isabel is coming in strong. So she must have been the fastest. So she's at the top of our leaderboard. And don't worry, you still have a couple more chances. All right. I want to better describe these. The worst part is I don't even see the difference between A and B, so I won't describe them.
That's the difficulty. A is
Okay,
a
well, I hope you guys
monocle,
did
B
better
is
than I did.
glasses, C is
Right,
no
okay.
glasses on the Monopoly Man.
You guys know. Let's see. C was the correct answer, and so that's no monocle is the correct version here. And let's see who's at the top. Oh. Sometimes this moves a little quicker. Our next one was Where's Waldo? I hope you had a chance. Wait. There we go. Getting lots of results here. Sure you guys are doing great. All right, so B was the correct one. He does indeed have a cane. It's not an umbrella. I'm sorry if anyone's childhoods have been challenged. Ooh, Isabel, someone's coming for your spot. Vanessa's at the top here. Let's see. What's next? Ooh, Pokemon. I feel like that's very in tune with most of our youth. So, what do you guys think? Get those answers in. 3 more seconds. Great job, guys. Ooh, A is the first one. Only a little bit of brown or black. I think that is at the bottom of the tail. So sorry. Lots of people seem to think that there's a black at the end of the tail there. Sometimes it skips the leaderboard. The last one is, or maybe not the last one, is the Fruit of the Loom logo. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. This one was hard for me to remember as well. Right. A was the correct one. No plate, no cornucopia. I think that's what those are called. Ooh, not sure who guest 107 is, but they're a mystery challenger coming up at the top here. All right. If anyone's familiar with C3PO, the biggest difference here is the color of the legs. Katie, you might be able to see better than I can.
Yes, so A has a copper colored leg, one leg copper colored, B has one leg silver colored, and C entirely gold.
Okay.
And as a lifelong Star Wars fan, I got this wrong.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I know. Um, Many of you possibly were fooled by this, but B was the correct answer. There's one silver leg. I actually had to do lots of research to get this right, and I ended up interviewing people to figure out what was real. But yes, if you go all the way back to the 70s, that is the correct variation. All right. Awesome. So big congrats to Vanessa. Vanessa, if you could please send over your information, just an email for now, to one of the moderators in the chat. You can private message them, and then we will reach out to you to get you your prize. Great job for Vanessa. User reactions in soon to give her a hand. Um, Great job, guys. So I hope that was fun, and I hope that explained a little bit of what we were talking about. That you can truly believe that you really know something when unfortunately sometimes that's challenging. Okay, so now we'll get into building some or reflecting for you guys, right? So the first thing I want you to do within your workbook, there's a space for this as well. You're going to just think about your own learning needs, right? So it's really important for challenging your thinking to know what your needs are, right? So think about what's important to you as a learner, what is uh, something that might be a challenge for you in your learning. And here we're just noting that so that we can think about that a little further later on. And I'll give about 30 seconds to do that before we talk about the next planning section. And if you're already done with that or didn't have too much to write about your learning needs, go on to this next section here, which is planning. So we'll do a little bit of practicing and planning for each strategy. And here we're just asking you to identify someone maybe that you've shared your contact info with so far in the um, workshop, or someone you already know, or someone in your program that could be a really good person to have as an accountability partner. So maybe they might not study with you, but maybe they might help you challenge your thinking. Maybe they might say, did you remember to reflect or really challenge your beliefs in a productive and positive way. So take 30 more seconds to do that, all right? Okay, so I hope that was enough time to just get some thinking done, and we're just going to jump in to the next strategy. Okay, we're going to talk about retrieval practice. And again, like I said before, this is the act of recalling information you've already learned. Great. Sorry that we can't watch the video. I will definitely share out these slides so that you can get a chance to watch these videos on your own. But when we talk about retrieval practice, there's a couple of different strategies. So the first one is avoiding um, the knowledge download. And here you're gonna avoid cramming for information by planning time to study beforehand and watching your lectures from your modules. to take down information. So a good way to do this is using the two things method. And again, we're going to talk more about these strategies, but if you look in your workbook, you'll get more info about that. So this is recalling previously learned information in a specific format. Creating a quiz is a great way to recall information. So you can create your own practice quiz with some of the apps that we'll share later on. And that's a great way of testing yourself so that you can, of course, practice information you've already learned. Study partners are a great retrieval practice strategy because to give feedback to your peers, you need to recall information. You need to question and critically think so that you can assist them and give them feedback. And then finally, using your course office hours is a method where you'll collect questions from your studying to ask to your instructor, right? And so after you've retrieved as much as you can, if you're still having trouble, of course, reach out to your instructor as they might be someone who can help you to get that information correctly. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and practice one of these strategies. As I was saying earlier, the two things method, you can read more about that in your workbook, but basically this is how it works with these different parts here. And we're actually going to go ahead and do this ourselves. So in the chat, I want you to think about this method, right? I want you to think about two things you've learned so far within this workshop, maybe previously before the workshop, two things you already knew about studying, two takeaways from this specific strategy about retrieval practice, two things you might want to learn some more about, and then two examples from your life that connect to this topic of studying, of learning, of retention, of practicing your skills. Go ahead and use the chat for that. I'll give just a minute for you to get your thoughts out there, and then I'll ask one of the moderators to maybe share a few that might stand out. Okay, while you guys kind of finish up that thinking and sharing, Katie or Mel, is there anything that is in the chat that you might want to highlight?
I'm seeing one message here from Carly. Carly, if you could give me a thumbs up that you're good with me sharing this, because it looks like you didn't share this with everyone.
If you guys are looking at the chat where it says two, try to make sure it says everyone, because I think some of you guys are messaging us hosts directly.
If you send it to hosts and panelists only, we can see it. But I got a thumbs up from Carly. So she said two things I want to learn more about. One, how I can take notes more effectively on very dense textbooks. And two, how to find a study partner for a small async class where the class is distributed across many time zones, which I totally get that. That can be very difficult to organize everyone's time.
This is very true. And it's really important to have those global skills and learn how to navigate that. Of course, when I was in grad school, had a team project with someone who lived, I think it was an 8-hour time difference. And so when we had team meetings, we had to be really sensitive to that time difference and try to meet in a way that was most effective for everyone. And I say, really is start a conversation, see what works for everyone. It might seem really difficult, but I think it's really good to just at least start that conversation, see what different ways that you could utilize a lot of asynchronous technology, right? Like you said, if it is an asynchronous course, then maybe we just utilize the chat feature in Canvas a lot more, or download WhatsApp, which is a great app for communicating across um, different countries and regions. So there's definitely a way, and I definitely would also encourage you guys to ask your instructors what they might recommend as well. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of quick planning. So this is when we're gonna go back into the study schedule that you started earlier. This is a great place to add some more if you've already put in your weekly courses. Remember, um, uh, each of them should have a different color, and we're gonna bring that back up later. Uh, excuse me, of why we're doing that. But of course, it might be helpful for you, especially um, if you're a visual learner or you need visual reminders of things. That'll be great for your calendar and reminders. Um, these additional parts here, if you, because this term has already started, you might already have some group or major assignments already underway. So if you haven't had a chance to meet with your team or set a really good day that works for you, then think about that, reflect about what's been working so far, and then add the work time that you'll put in on this group or major project. Add a time that you'll meet with your team that works for you. Of course, you'll need to communicate that with your team, but maybe you can set aside Saturday mornings if we need to plan something with the team. That's a really good time for me. So I'll block off that time so I don't make any other plans during that time. And then something else that is probably really relevant, to you guys as students is clubs and organizations that you might be a part of, right? So if there's any commitments you have, honor society or on-campus work, even your professional work, put that into your schedule. Put that into that blank schedule that you created so that you can see everything in one place. And why this is important is because to have like a effective study schedule for adult learners, especially, we know that we have a lot going on. It's not just going to school. It's not like when we were younger, and that's our biggest concern. Unfortunately, we have lots of other responsibilities, and fortunately, we have lots to look forward to. But sometimes it can be difficult to balance all that. So a study schedule where you can plan your studying in between that professional work, in between familial obligations, in between things you enjoy, might help you just organize things better instead of approaching learning as, I'm not sure when I'll have time to study. I'm not sure, when I'll have time to put in this 10 hours that my instructor is inferring for this module, right? Okay, so the next strategy we'll be talking about is interleaving. Oh, actually, can we just get a thumbs up check for the study schedule? I don't want to move too fast if you guys are still working on that. Okay, got one thumbs up, so I think people are still working. Um, so I'll also say this is a really great point to use your Canvas student app also if you already have that. There's a calendar feature in there, and you can't quite build a custom calendar in there, but what you can do is look at the to-do list from your different courses, and this is where those colors come into play, right? You can utilize the different colors from your courses and customize it within Canvas and have it match with your schedule. We'll do a little bit more time of that later as well. So I'll give about 30 more seconds since I think people are a bit done with this. And then, we'll give you guys a little bit more time with another activity as well. I do want to get into the next strategy so we don't run out of time. So when we're talking about interleaving, it's all about variety. So not only in creating variety in your studying, but creating variety in how you study, and the methods of practice that you're utilizing. Okay, so when we talk about those strategies, like I said, you're varying the order of the practice and varying the style of studying. So you have these two examples of using practice questions is a great strategy for interleaving. You can create flashcards or utilize flashcard websites to mix up different topics. You can create a practice quiz that has different questions for different courses, etc. You know, the purpose is that you are not just kind of reiterating or rereading the same information in the same order over and over again, because in some ways you might end up just memorizing that order instead of actually learning and learning to think about that topic. Okay, so we'll do this super quick. I don't think we have time for our next game because it's going to take a little bit of time, but we'll definitely share the link if you guys want to play that with your new study partner that you've made in this workshop. But a good example of interleaving is when you're learning a foreign language, right? So a way that you might vary that practice is, you know, of course, creating a varied schedule of when you're going to practice that, you know, how much of that you're going to do, but also in the methods that you're using, right? So a few examples might be when you're learning a foreign language, you start out with some rote practice. You're memorizing words, you're just kind of, you know, listening or taking in the initial information. Then you might vary it by listening to music in that language that you enjoy, watching movies or videos in that language that might be useful. Something really cool that I found that there's yoga classes or different exercise classes on YouTube in different languages. So that might be great if you're, you know, really into fitness to kind of incorporate something that you enjoy that might help you better connect that information to your learning and have more of a meaningful experience with that learning. And like I said, fortunately, we don't have enough time to play Jeopardy today and pick another winner, but basically, Jeopardy is another great way to vary your practice. You'll see here in this screenshot, this student has put in different, you know, topics, and then those questions are going to be varied. And of course, it's fun. So if you have a group, a study group, then I would suggest I'm going to ask Mel or Katie to still drop the link to this game in the chat so you guys can play that on your own time. It is a little bit challenging, but I hope it's useful for explaining this method. And now that you have that link, we're going to do a quick little planning for this strategy. And I'm only going to give maybe a few seconds and just kind of explain what the purpose of this is. So within your workbook, again, you should have this activity as well. So here you're either just taking it down somewhere, put it in your phone notes, go into your Amazon shopping cart, where you're thinking about everything you've learned today. What would be most useful to achieve this, right? Do you need flashcards? Do you need maybe sound canceling headphones? Do you need to maybe just write down on your list, I need a quiet place to study. That's something I need to identify. I need consistency of where I'm studying or more materials. So just take a few seconds to write down a quick shopping list of what might be useful to help you guys achieve these strategies. Okay, so while you guys are finishing that up, I'll start talking about the next strategy, which is spaced practice. So spaced practice, as I said, is all about creating space in between your learning. The whole concept is forget a little bit of what you've already studied so that it's a stronger experience the next time and you're recalling that information like we discussed, right? And we'll kind of finalize the scheduling piece here. So strategies for space practice is, you know, you start small. That's number one there, right? Start small. You know, don't try to put so much on your schedule that I am going to commit myself to 4 hours of studying every day. We know that's not realistic, you know. So instead, like we've been doing throughout this, just identify those courses. Just identify what the different parts of your study schedule are, right? And then create that time in between your study sessions. So as you're working on that calendar that you're building today, make sure you're creating that space. Make sure things are not back and forth and all those different colors don't just stack up into one big part of your day, because most likely that's going to overwhelm you at some point, and we all know things come up. And so be intentional about creating that space. And then finally, a really important part of space practice is to study all of the content multiple times. So you've forgotten a little bit of that information from your first study session, but what you want to do in the next study session is not just move on to the next topics, but study that initial information again, plus some new information. And by the time you've done 2, 3, 4, 5 study sessions, you've approached that content over and over again, and you've strengthened that memory. Okay. This is another really great activity. Again, we don't quite have time. We just have a few more minutes, but I just wanted to explain how that works. Um, so you can actually do this in person, right? And so yeah, what you'll do is get a set of your flashcards. And in this case, I can ask one of the moderators to drop the different sets of flashcards here. So this might be a great thing to practice with one of your study partners you've made in this session. Here's that QR code if you want to keep creating your digital business card. Share your link to your Hi Hello, share your link to your LinkedIn Learning, um, or plan to meet somewhere else outside of this workshop. And within this activity, you'll study your flashcards yourself, study those terms, then you'll test each other, right, on the different terms. And that's basically the concept of this is having that moment where you're receiving and giving feedback, there you're testing and recalling knowledge. Um, all really important for strengthening that memory, but also because you're using, information you've previously learned, you've created that space in between the learning. So I hope that's an activity you guys might find interesting. Of course, there's more information on how you can practice this in your workbook. But right now, we're just going to do the final 30 seconds with this scheduling activity, right? Because it's really important that you guys walk away with, something that is useful for you. So again, I'm going to reiterate how important it is to choose something you are familiar using already. If you use Outlook a lot, if you are already using Google a lot, whatever works for you, or if you're like me and you like to write things down, go ahead and utilize that too. Or maybe you have to write down in your materials list that you need to buy a planner so that you can get this done. You're going to go ahead and start small. You identify your roles, right? I'm a student. Here's my course list. I work at this job. Here's my work schedule. I, am the treasurer of student council. And so here's when we meet. I'm going to add that to my schedule as well. We're going to go ahead and build that schedule. And the most important part is that you follow the schedule. And this is probably where your accountability partner comes to you, right? Maybe you want to share your schedule with your accountability partner so they can say, hey, I see you can check this off, or how are you doing with this? And they can check in with you in the same way that you could help out somebody else. So I hope that's been very clear. Please, of course, ask questions in the chat if you would need any help with that. And of course, email facultyforward@jhu.edu if there's any questions after the workshop. Our last strategy is embracing difficulties. As I discussed it earlier, I want you guys to accept that this is not going to be easy. If this is the first kind of effort you're making in helping to enhance your learning or study skills, it might feel unnatural. But growth will take time for you to become that student that you're reflecting on or that you want to be or achieve certain goals within your program. It's going to take a little bit of time, but if you do stick to it, I think that, that effort will be shown over time. And so I want you to embrace the times when you're getting questions wrong, when you've built the study quiz and, you're like, oh, I only got one question right on this, or reach out, or your partner is telling you that it's some difficult feedback to hear, then, instead of defending, but instead of embrace that, okay, I need to do a little bit more work here. I need to think about this a little further. And definitely embrace the small wins as well. Celebrate just doing a little bit better on your previous test, or being able to get through the homework without having to Google anything. That's a small win, and that's great. So keep up with that as well. Okay, so our last activity here is going to be talking about motivation. So as I kind of explained this, um, like we were saying before in this previous slide, is that we want to celebrate the growth. And sometimes it might be useful to look forward to something, um, and so you might have little reminders or gifts for yourself to celebrate in these moments, right? And that might be getting to be able to see your favorite movie because you were on time to all your classes. You attended all the office hours you intended to attend this week, and so you're gonna buy your favorite coffee. So it doesn't have to be extravagant, but I'm someone who really enjoys traveling. So my motivator is usually a trip that I'm planning in a few months, and so I try to get all my goals checked off my list. And of course, I'm not gonna give myself a hard time, but that's motivation that I deserve, a break because as someone who has a lot of responsibilities and a lot of hats that I wear, it's good to know I'm looking forward to a time of rest. And so that's what I want you guys to do. Go ahead and click the link in the chat, open this QR code, whichever is easiest for you, and you'll be able to see different motivators that other folks find useful. So time off, that's my favorite one. And as you'll see here, there's all different kinds of things that people look forward to and use to celebrate their learning. And I won't play this whole thing just because we're at our last minute here and I'm not sure if this cuts off or not. And I just wanted to share in the chat a link to our Genially where you will see several resources, learning resources that are on campus or off campus, going to events that might be useful for achieving these goals or meeting others, different organizations and departments that may be useful to students, and of course, career development, because we're all here to develop as professionals. And go ahead and explore those resources. And again, if you have any trouble understanding or reaching out to anyone, reach out to our team as well. And here's this final piece of what we talked about. So you now have a personalized study plan. If you completed all the activities and reflected within your workbook, I want you to go ahead and revisit that as much as you need. Think about what you've been reflecting on this morning and go ahead and obtain the necessary tools. Use that materials list. Make sure you have everything you need at the start of the term as time goes on. Join committed teams, right? Your study partner, accountability partner should have your back, should want the things that you want. So really reach out to your partners, but also ask for help. Go to the different resources, go to the different departments on campus that can better support you in this way. And finally, adjust this over time. You might be a different person today than you are next term or next year. So it's okay to revisit this and see if you have different needs as your terms go on or as your program goes on. Here's one last chance to get that Hi Hello app, which is a great app for conferences, working, etc., and even have an opportunity to build a personal business card as well. That's just an easier way of sharing your information. And the last thing is just the study strategies for effective learning. I'll just quickly explain this. Like I said, a long-term project that we've had for the past couple of years, and we have this workshop, we have the workbook, we have a lot of these resources for you. But in the future, we are working on finalizing a self-paced course where you can have this workshop experience and have as much time as you need to get through the information. And so hopefully that'll be available to students soon. You'll be able to self-enroll, go through all these strategies, go through different activities, get a little bit further information, more information on the different resources and how they specifically relate to the strategies. And we hope that everyone will find that useful in some way. Of course, I'm going to be respectful to your time. It is 2 o'clock. If you have to go ahead and bow out. But I'm just going to go ahead and check the chat or the Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand, unmute. Otherwise, we are all done today.